Good evening. You're seeing on your screen live footage of the Mayon volcano in Albay, still at alert level 3. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology says it recorded on Thursday night the largest pyroclastic density current registered since June 8. Joining us live from Daraga, Albay is INQUIRER.net news anchor Neil Mercado. Neil?
Bay, according to Phivolcs, the pyroclastic density current, or PDC, occurred at around 11:18 p.m. on Thursday and is the largest seen since June 8. It was among the 13 PDCs that were recorded from Thursday to Friday, which is higher than the 3 recorded from Wednesday to Thursday. Our team here was able to capture the lava flow coming from the crater of Mayon volcano last night, which you can see right now on your screens. Bay, accompanied by the Philippine Army, we were also able to go inside the Mayon's 6-kilometer danger zone earlier today. Some of the residents who already decided to evacuate continue to return to their homes and visit their houses, feed their chicken and the cows. Some even opted to stay at their respective barangays despite the danger of the rumbling Mayon volcano. The sentiment here of the residents, Bay, is loud and clear. They understand the need to evacuate, but for them, evacuation also means abandoning their livelihood. Some residents want to evacuate, but they were allegedly not accommodated in the evacuation center. Amelia Legado was nearly in tears when we accidentally crossed paths with her in Barangay Miisi in Daraga Town in Albay. Miisi, for context, Bay, is within Mayon volcano's 6-kilometer danger zone. According to her, the evacuation center she visited could not accommodate her and her husband Jose since they are not included in the records of Barangay Miisi.
Hanap buhay naman. Oo, ng pagkain naman. Eh, takwat naman na. Buka.
Hindi daw sila na-accommodate doon sa ano? Ang record
naman
ni...
tinanggap si Ano.
Ang wala daw record sa?
Wala na daw siya dito. Pero diyan siya nagabuto. Diyan siya nagkukulong sa
bumalik dito.
senior.
Bay, with no choice, Amelia trekked the steep and unpaved road to Barangay Miisi to return home. We found out, because we joined her in her return home, we found out that Amelia lives with her husband in Barangay Miisi. Their home is only around 4 kilometers away from Mayon volcano. So, worried about their situation, they wanted to evacuate.
Kasi wala naman daw ako sa listahan doon sa Miisi. Yan, dyan ako nagbubuto pag oras na may butuhan.
Ano po ang sabi sa inyo? Nasaan daw po kayong listahan?
Wala naman sabi sa amin.
Basta wala na daw siya dyan sa Miisi.
Wala na daw ako sa Miisi.
Pero
Kaninang umaga, pumunta yung kapatid ko. Tinanong doon kung ano. Ang sabi, wala na daw. Para lang daw siya, naglalati lang dito, nagtatanim. Wala na daw siya.
Pero
kayo
kayo
hindi na
po,
daw pwede.
dito na po talaga kayo nakatira sa Miisi?
Opo, dito.
Kung talagang delikado na yung kalagayan ng Mayon, hindi kami lumikas. Ang kaso nga, gusto na namin sanang lumikas, ayaw naman sa amin.
Kaya dito
Wala
na lang kami titira.
Wala na daw kami sa listahan sa Miisi.
Para may hanap buhay kami.
Spoke with the Daraga Municipal Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, and they said that they will verify Amelia and Jose's case, but they assured us that Amelia and Jose will be immediately accommodated in the evacuation center. The Philippine Army immediately assisted Amelia and Jose for their evacuation, and they were brought to an evacuation center in Barangay Anislag.
Nagtakot na kami.
Natakot na rin kayo. Ano po bang, kapag nag-aalboroto po ba, ano yung nararanasan niyo?
Kumukulog yung Mayon.
Parang may kulog na tunog.
Kumukulog. Tapos yung apoy, madaming apoy.
Malapit na po kayo, no? Kita na po natin yung
4?
4 kilometers, opo. Also able to visit another barangay that is located within the 6-kilometer danger zone in Barangay Bujao. We also met Arnulfo, who is staying in an evacuation center, but from time to time, he visits his home to feed his dogs and chicken in Barangay Bujao.
Napunta ako dito kasi yung pakakainin yung mga aso, tapos yung mga manok. Kasi hindi naman ako pag kagaya nung Yung sinundan nitong pag-eruption ngayon, nawala yung 2 tandang ko dito tapos yung 2 ingahin. May mga taniman ako dito ng mga gulay. Yun ang ano ko dito.
Yan
Yun
po ba
ang
yung
hanap buhay ko dito.
hanap buhay na po ninyo?
Oo.
Kapag nasa evacuation po kayo, anong kikitain po ninyo?
Wala.
As I mentioned earlier, some evacuees living within Mayon's 6-kilometer danger zone returned to their homes from time to time. Some even opted to stay since for them, they cannot abandon their livelihood.
Doon sa evacuation, yun nga ang sabi ko kanina na wala namang pagkakakitaan doon. Tapos dito yung mga tanim ko.
Wala nang takot, di na kayo natatakot.
Hindi naman. Parang nasanay na kami sa ano.
I'm here right now at the Our Lady of the Gate Parish Church in Daragatown, and behind me is the Mayon volcano. I'm not sure if you can see the crater right now because the clouds are covering it, and it may look calm from afar, but we heard about Phivolcs report earlier today, and the Philippine Army personnel and the Daraga Municipal Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office personnel who joined us earlier told us that they are their efforts to convince residents to evacuate remains. After all, Mayon volcano is still under alert level 3, which means those residents who live within the 6-kilometer danger zone have to evacuate. We visited some of the evacuation centers yesterday, and as of Thursday, June 15, there are 867 families or 3,178 individuals currently staying in 6 evacuation and relocation sites in Daraga Town. Aside from Barangay Miisi and Bujao, those from Barangay Banyadero and Matnog are also evacuated due to Mayon's continuing unrest. Bay, let me clarify though that these data that I'm citing are just from Daraga Town. So this does not include the data from the evacuation sites and relocation sites in other municipalities and cities here in Albay that also conducted their own evacuation efforts. Bay will continue to monitor the situation here in Albay.
Thank you very much, Neil. Stay safe. That's Neil Mercado reporting live from Albay. In related news, Office of Civil Defense spokesperson Diego Mariano says permanent evacuation centers are needed for the long term amid Mayon volcano's unrest. According to Mariano, one of the ways to stay safe from the restive volcano is to stay far from it. He says permanent evacuation centers should be set up if the danger zone is extended. Mayon volcano's permanent danger zone is currently 7 kilometers. Mariano asks affected residents to cooperate with authorities and follow orders should evacuation be necessary.
Maaari, makagawa po tayo ng bago nilang pwedeng paglagyan or mga mas permanent na evacuation centers na pwede lang paglagyan temporarily pag umabot sa kanilang pag-extend ang danger zone. So, yun po yung numero una natin long-term plan. So, pag-relocate sa ating mga kababayan na nasa loob at nasa malapit po sa danger zone.
President Bongbong Marcos says he is waiting for volunteers for Agriculture Secretary, quipping that he is still not allowed to leave the post. The DA is the only department without a full-time secretary, with Marcos concurrently serving as the agency's chief. According to Marcos, the DA had to respond to the crisis in food supplies, prices, fertilizer costs, and more. He assures that important structural changes have taken place in the DA during his term. However, Marcos says that there is still so much to be done.
Tinatanong ko sa kanila lahat, inaantay ko mag-volunteer sila mag-secretary, ayaw kong paalisin eh. Ang aking hangarin para sa DA ay pag iniwanan mo ang DA, by that time, we will have systems in place so that we can guarantee the food supply of the Philippines. So hanggang matapos natin yun, I suppose you will just have to put up with me as the DA secretary.
United States President Joe Biden raised to President Bongbong Marcos the request to temporarily house in the Philippines applicants from Afghanistan who are seeking special immigrant visas. Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo said this before the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee during its probe into the proposed deal between the two countries. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken had directly raised the proposal to Manalo verbally and through a letter. The request had been forwarded to the Philippine government as early as October 2022. Philippine Ambassador to Washington, Babe Romualdez, said the embassy received the formal request from the U.S. government. For his part, Manalo confirmed DFA was made aware of the U.S. request through a concept note from their government. He said the proposal was for the Philippines to allow Afghans formerly employed by the U.S. government to temporarily stay in the country to have their special immigrant visas processed with the U.S. Embassy in Manila.
And in fact, President Biden also briefly raised the issue with President Marcos during the visit last May.
It was also followed up with us through the State Department whether this is possible for us to consider. And so we immediately sent this request to the Department of Foreign Affairs, and the Secretary and I spoke about it briefly, and he said that he was going to have this studied before any action could be taken.
Vice President Sara Duterte shows her support for the sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, and sex characteristics equality bill. Jean Mangaluz has the report.
Vice President Sara Duterte showed support for the proposed sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, or sex characteristics bill, a measure that has been debated in Congress for more than 2 decades. Duterte recognized that the LGBTQI+ community has faced many struggles. She said that as we patiently wait for the passage of the Sogie SC bill, good things take time. The Vice President assured that she's one of the advocates in government who will support protection laws. Earlier, Duterte had given livelihood assistance to different queer groups, saying that she hoped to see successful startup businesses from them. For the 19th Congress, the Sogie SC bill has passed the committee level in the House of Representatives. However, in the Senate, the bill suffered a setback after it was returned to the Rules Committee panel headed by Senate Majority Leader Joel Villanueva. This was despite the bill securing approval from the Higher Chambers Committee on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality. This is Jean Mangaluz reporting for INQUIRER.net.
State seismologists record 35 aftershocks after the 6.3 magnitude earthquake that struck Batangas and nearby Luzon areas on Thursday. Phivolcs says 17 of the 35 aftershocks ranging from magnitudes 1.4 to 3.1 were plotted, but none were felt. Meanwhile, the quake that jolted Calatagan town in Batangas left no major damage in the province. Calatagan Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Public Information Officer Dan Badong says no significant damage was found after a thorough inspection and assessment of critical infrastructures. He adds that they have yet to receive reports of any injuries to residents in the town's 25 barangays. Badong says local authorities would conduct follow-up inspections to ensure the safety of the structures. Senator Bato de la Rosa remains unfazed by a survey that found most Catholic school students opposing the revival of the mandatory Reserve Officers Training Corps program. A recent Catholic Education Association of the Philippines poll shows that 53% of students from over 1,500 Catholic schools are against the proposal to restore the obligatory school-based military training program. De la Rosa says he finds it unnecessary to persuade unpatriotic Filipinos to back the measure. He adds that defending the country is not a matter of choice but a constitutional duty. He is currently shepherding the passage of the ROTC bill in the Senate. The bid to revive the mandatory ROTC program in the country has triggered an uproar from students, youth groups, and even lawmakers who recalled the reason why it was abolished in the first place. A University of Santo Tomas student was brutally killed in 2001 after he exposed alleged corruption in the school's ROTC program. Alamin naman natin ang mainit na balita sa mundo ng showbiz kasama si Pauline Del Rosario ng Bandera. Pauline?
Hello, Bay! At sa mga kabandera natin all over the universe. Heto ang latest chika. Mukhang magkakababy na very soon ang mag-asawang Ellen Adarna at Derek Ramsey. Sa Instagram stories, nilinaw ni Ellen na hindi pa siya buntis. Pero pinaghahandaan na niya ang magiging pregnancy journey. Kabilang na nga riyan ang pagtigil niya sa pagyuyosi at vape after 17 years. Ayon pa kay Ellen, isang anak lang ang gusto nila ni Derek. Ang hiling pa niya, magkaroon sila ng baby girl. Pero okay lang din daw kung lalaki ulit ang kanyang magiging anak. Sa ngayon, ine-enjoy muna ng aktres ang kanyang married life kasama ang mister, pati na rin ang anak nila ni John Lloyd Cruz na si Elias na 4 years old na ngayon. At yan ang latest bandera chika natin for today. Thank you, Bay!
Maraming salamat, Pauline. And these are the stories you need to know today. I'm Beatriz Pinlac. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.